Welcome back to the BioClean Unfiltered podcast. I, of course, am Rhea Toles, and today I'm alone as usual. I'm going to talk your ear off. I have so much to say, so many things I want to say on this episode because things that have been on my mind lately. And but today I just want to say that I've been reading this book. I've been diving into this book. It's called Emma Grede's book called Start With Yourself. And if you don't know who Emma Grede is, she is someone that I listen to on podcasts all the time. She's a businesswoman, an entrepreneur, a leader. So many things resonate with me when I listen to her and reading her book. I mean, the title in itself really caught me off guard. It resonated with me. Start with yourself. And so I just wanted to take some of that in today's episode and talk about what she had to say in there and how that comes along with what I'm doing right now as well in business and my life and stuff like that. Because like I said, it just really resonated with me. And so one of the things when I was reading it, again, it's called Start With Yourself. So one of the things when I was reading it was, how many times do we actually look outside ourselves when something isn't actually working? Like, how many times do we really do that? And I'm talking about taking accountability here. Yes, we're going to talk about that. But I really asked that question, and she asked that in her book. How many times are we doing that? And oftentimes we're really not. We're really not. And I took a lot of time, a lot of work within myself to start thinking like that, thinking outside of myself. Because a lot of the times, and I hear a lot about this with myself, with my friends, with my family, like we blame our circumstances a lot, right? Like if something bad is happening, we blame our circumstances. Well, it's because I don't have money for this, all those things. A lot of the times too, like we blame the economy again, like, oh, the economy is bad. I don't have money for gas. I don't have this. I'm just going to stay at home, not do anything. We like blame our employees. We blame people around us. That's why things are going bad. It's because of so-and-so, right? We hear that all the time. I mean, we blame our boss, our spouse. Our spouse is always the easiest one to blame, right? He's our partners. That's because he did this, and that's why I can't go to this thing. We blame our employees, like I said, and we blame like our childhood. A lot of the times it's because I experienced something when I was young, and that's why I am the way that I am. But we also blame people who disappointed us. It's so easy to blame people we're mad at or people who've disappointed us. That's so easy. And we also like to say it's because of the opportunities we didn't get. Oh, it's because I wasn't afforded those kind of opportunities. That's why I am the way that I am. So those are common things that I hear a lot outside when we are going through something, when things happen and we want to blame other people, blame our circumstances and things like that. Those are most common things that I hear. But sometimes those things absolutely affect our lives. They do. I don't want to take away from that because absolutely those things affect our lives. But sometimes, eventually, if you want your life to change, there comes a point where you're going to have to ask yourself, what am I going to do about it? What am I going to do about it? And that is hard. Even though it's easy as to say that is hard to come to terms with. What am I going to do about it? Not anybody else outside of us, not our circumstances like I talked about. What am I going to do about it? That's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. That's kind of the preface of today's episode, because it's not going to be this book story, but this is going to kind of be like my story and maybe a little bit of yours if you can resonate with some of the things that I want to talk about. So the first thing I'm going to talk about, and this is one of the things in the book that is a hard thing to admit, but the common denominator in your life is you. It's you. You're the only common denominator in your life. That doesn't mean that, and I'm not, again, trying to take away, but that doesn't mean everything that happened to you was your fault. It doesn't mean that. But it means what happens next is your responsibility. It's your responsibility. So it doesn't mean things that have happened to you is your fault, but you have to think about what's next. What are you going to do next? That's your responsibility to think about that. Not anyone else, but your own, because you're the common denominator in your own life. And that distinction is very huge. It was huge to me when I learned that. And it took me a long time to get to where I'm at to even make that distinction, because I was someone that would be like, well, it's because of this and it's because of that. I've had disappointments. I've had plenty of disappointments in my life. I mean, I just had disappointments in my life recently. I've had that too. I've trusted people I probably shouldn't have trusted. Who's been in that boat? You've trusted people because you think they're such a good person, but you knew deep down inside you probably shouldn't have trusted them. I recently have just done that as well. I've made bad hires. I've done that. Again, I've recently had that has happened to me as well. I've made bad hires. I've made business decisions I would never make today. And that's not to say I would never make bad decisions again, but now I know better and I probably would not make them again today. And I've talked about this before in my podcast is I've worried too much about what people thought. And I that's a big thing for me because that was huge in my life. I did a lot of work to get out of that space of what other people think of me. But that's one of the things too, is that I thought about what people thought. And then another thing I talked about in my podcast is I've said yes when I wanted to say no. And no, like I talked about, is a hard word. It's a 2-letter word, but that's a really hard word. I used to think no was a negative statement, right? I talked about that, but I have said yes when I really deep down in my gut feeling wanted to say no because I wanted people to like me. I wanted to fit in. I talked about this. I wanted people to think I'm a good person. I didn't want to say no, even though I felt like I should. And it's never worked out well when I did that. And I've given people chance after chance because I wanted to see the best in them. And this is the hardest one for me as well. I am naturally always looking at something positive in someone, something good in someone. That's just who I am. But I've learned that can be a detriment to me because I have given people plenty of chances. And I've recently just did that as well. I've given people plenty of chances to where it has come to a point where I've been taken advantage of. And so at some point, I had to stop asking, why do people keep doing this to me? Like we say that a lot, right? Like I've heard this so many times. Why is this happening to me? Why are people doing this to me? And that is something that I've worked on as well, because now I'm starting to ask myself, why am I allowing this to continue? Why am I allowing this to continue in my life? Why am I allowing these people to do this to me? Why am I allowing this to continue? Because people aren't going to change. That's who they are. When I set my boundaries and I ask myself, why am I allowing this to continue? So many things have changed. And I feel like that's starting with yourself. That's the whole point of this. So one of the things I'm going to also mention on here is stop waiting for someone to save you. One of the biggest lessons I've learned, and I've learned it in business and in life, is nobody is coming to build your life for you. And I did that. It took many years for me to get to where I'm at today because I was brought up that way where someone's going to help me no matter what. They're going to help save me. My parents are going to get me out of debt. My sister's going to come and help me if my car breaks down. My parents did that a lot. I'm going to say my parents again. They always came to save me. So that was a mentality that I did build that took me a long time to get away from, because you can have like an amazing husband. I have the most amazing husband. I have the most generous, loving, kind husband. Was he going to save me? Maybe when we first started dating, I thought, okay, he's just going to be like my parents and get me out of debt and all these. No, he's not going to save me. He's not going to build my life for me. One of the things he would tell me too is you're on your own on this one. I mean, that was like, used to make me so mad, but he was right. I'm on my own on this one. This is on you. This is your decision. What's the result? That's on you. And so that was really big for me. It was a big learning process for me. You can have a great family. You can have wonderful friends, the best support system. You can have mentors, employees, business partners, all those things, but nobody else can decide what you are going to do with your own potential. No one's going to decide that for you. You're the only person that can decide that for you, your own potential. Where can you take this? And so I think also, especially as women, we're sometimes taught, like I talked about in my past podcast, is we're always taught to make ourselves smaller. And that resonated with me because that's true. And I've talked about that. And I talked about my parents always trying to save me all the time, bailing me out all the time. But I was also taught, like, again, don't be too aggressive. Don't talk about money too much. And that, to me, was such a lesson because I thought if I talked about money, if I talked about my financial struggles, if I talked about how much money I was making, I was bragging. I'm arrogant, right? My parents said, just be humble like that. But now I want to talk about money all the time. I want to talk about it with other women. I want to talk about it. How much, success are you having in your money? What are your financial struggles? Where do you want to be with your money? And I think a lot of times we are not comfortable with that as women, but men do it all the time. I make 6 figures, I make 7 figures, I've been doing all these things. But when we do it, it's not a good look. And I want to get away from that, because I feel like that's a lot of the times why women struggle with getting SBA loans, with getting the right proper financial help, is because we're not comfortable and we don't have the tools and education to really learn that and to really take those things resources that are out there and to another level. And that's where I feel like that's such a big culture shift for me. I was always told, don't make other people uncomfortable, don't brag, don't want too much. You're good with where you're at. If you want more than that, then you're crazy. And I hear that a lot. If you want too much, then you're arrogant. You want more, you're ungrateful. And so I have reached a place in my own life, all the things I just talked about, I don't agree with any of that anymore. I don't agree with any of that, because I want more. And I'm okay with saying that. I used to not be okay with saying that. I want more. And I think we all should be able to say that. We want more. I want to grow our companies. I am okay with saying that. I want to grow it. I want to triple it. I want to quadruple it. I want to grow. I want to become a better leader. I want to be better every single day. We should be able to say that. We want to be better every single day. I want to be a better mother. I want to be a better sister, a daughter, and I want also financial success. I do. I really want that. I want to be able to buy the things that I want to buy. And that shouldn't be something that we're scared to say and admit. I want to make an impact in my community. I want to do all of that. I can make money. I could be a better mom, and I can make an impact on the community. You don't have to choose one thing. And the one thing I also want to do, I want to build and I want to continue building my personal brand. I always get people asking me, well, Rhea, you already have your companies, you already have your business. And it's like, I've had people look down at me like, oh my God, why are you doing health and wellness? Why are you doing, I have brands that come to me like Amazon that I promote. Like, why are you doing that? Well, because that's me. Like, I want to have my own personal brand. My businesses and my career is not who I am. It's what I want. It's what I want to build, but that's not my identity. And people get lost in that because you have a business and because you're doing what you love to do, which is great. It's not who you are. I want other things too, and I can do that, and that's okay. And so people, get that confused. I have my business social media and I have my personal social media, and that's okay to have. You can have what you want for your personal brand. And also, I want to try new things. There's nothing wrong with trying new things. I'm always constantly trying new things. I want to do so many things that it's not a bad thing to do. And I had people saying to me, well, you do too much. You do a lot. What are you doing? And it's like, I don't know why I, first of all, have to explain that, but also there has to be a difference between your businesses and yourself. You truly do. And you have to try new things in order for you to realize what are the things you really want to do. I don't think we should ever have to apologize for wanting a bigger life. I really don't. We should never apologize for that. So one of the things in the book, one of the ideas that I got from there with the book that really stood out to me is what Emma, the author, calls old thoughts. And this is one of the things I took from the book that I want to talk about, because those beliefs that we've carried on for years that we've never really stopped to question, why am I thinking this? It's been embedded in us as it's who we are, right? It's instilled in us as maybe we were children. I was taught you should have your life figured out by the time you're like 40. You should have your family, you should have your kids, you should have everything in line by the time you're 40, your career, all of that. That just never happened for me. And so a lot of the times, like especially when we got into BioClean, I was like, I'm in my 40s and I'm starting a company. I started way too late. I should have started this in my 20s. That was crazy thinking, but that was like my old thoughts. That was my time frame in my mind. And that was a big thing for a hump for me to get over. You can start over anytime you want. Doesn't have to be the timeline that you were instilled with. And then one thing is, I hear a lot from like my friends too, is I'm not educated enough. Those that didn't go to college, that dropped out of high school and have their GED and they want to start a business. I've heard, I don't know if I know enough. I didn't go to college. So what? That doesn't matter. But those are the thoughts, right? You have to go to college after high school. You have to do those things. Another old thought is I'm not good at sales. Like I don't talk to people. I'm an introvert, so I'm not going to be good at sales. you can change that. You can change your process. You can change that way of thinking. And then one thing is, I'm not a leader. I've heard that before. I've heard people tell me, I'm not going to be in management. I don't want to deal with people. I'm an introvert. I don't like talking to people. So you don't want to further your career yourself because you have accepted that thought of, I'm an introvert. I don't like talking to people. And another thing is, people like me don't build companies. I've heard that. And it's like, why do you think that? Again, because of who I am, because I'm like this, I'm like that, just sticking to those old thoughts. And then one is, I don't have the right connections. I don't know anyone. I like being at home. I don't like going out and meeting people. So I'm not going to do that. And then the one I always used to say to myself is, what will people think though? What will people think? And that, again, I've talked about this time and time again, that is a common thought of one of our old thoughts. Just stay quiet because people are going to think you're crazy, right? And then my personal favorite that I hear and I've used so many times is, it's just who I am. That's just who I am. Like, I'm not going to do that because that's just who I am. I'm not going to start my own business because I don't like to go out. I'm an introvert. I hear that all the time. I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert, by the way. I totally am an introvert. But when I start going, I've trained my mind now to just start talking to people. So no, sometimes it's not who you are. Right? It's simply who you've practiced being. You've practiced being that. You've practiced being that introvert. You practiced being that extrovert. You've practiced being enclosed in your home. You don't want to go out because of this and this and that. That's who you've practiced being. And you can change that. We can change. We evolve every single day. We can change those thoughts and our habits and all those things. You don't have to be the person you think you are. You can always change. So here's a question I want everyone listening to think about. And I love this question. What belief about yourself have you been treating like it's a fact? Think about that. Like, what is that one belief that you've been treating like it's a fact, an actual fact? Because maybe it isn't a fact. Maybe it's just like an old thought, like we just talked about. And I believe that so wholeheartedly, that a lot of the things that we think is instilled in us and won't change, they're not facts. You can always change them. So this is big for me. And this is why I wanted to talk about this right now, is accountability. And accountability is so difficult. I've done a lot of work on accountability throughout the years because accountability changes everything. It really, really does. And I preach accountability to my kids, to my employees, because accountability back in the day, it used to sound negative to me. If you think about it, I used to be like, hell no, I am not going to admit that. That is not my fault. I'm not doing that. I used to think that's so negative for me to admit something that I did wrong. Now I think, this is so big for me, and I hope people resonate with me. I think it's one of the most empowering things in the world. I really, honestly, truly do. Because if everything is somebody else's fault, if you think about this, that means you're powerless. You are powerless. If you blame somebody else, you've given them your power. You have. When you say, okay, what part of this belongs to me? Imagine that. Imagine that power you have back for yourself. And when I heard that and I learned that, it was huge for me. Huge, because that's the truth. It's like you are giving that to somebody else. Now you don't have your power. You've given that to somebody else. And I was blown away when I learned that. And I want to talk about that because it changed a lot of things for me. And now you have something you can change when you say that. You can. I've had to do this myself, like as a business owner, as a mother, as so many things. And if these are the things I ask myself now when I take accountability, especially in business, if someone isn't performing, did I clearly communicate my expectations? Ask yourself that. Josh and I are really big now. If something isn't working, it comes from the top down. It really does. It's something maybe we didn't clearly communicate. We are taking accountability for that. Maybe it just wasn't said well to that person. Another question we ask ourselves, if there's confusion in the company, did leadership create clarity? I have accountability meetings with my leadership every week, and I talk about this because we have to create that clarity. We have to be specific, and we have to be very vocal and simple too about it. Did we create that clarity? Did they understand? Did you get that confirmation they understood what you were saying? If we're not hitting our sales goals, are we actually doing the activities required to hit them? Are we? And that was huge as well, because we have to make sure those simple activities weekly were being hit. And if they're not hit, that's why we're not making our sales goal. Very simple. So those are questions I had to ask. If I'm overwhelmed, have I created boundaries? And that to me also was something that I've had to learn over the years. If you know my husband, he is a hurricane. He is a force to be reckoned with. I'm telling you, and we just talked about this yesterday. The employees laugh about it, but he can come in and he can just be like, okay, guys, we're all in our process. And he wants things done like now. He wants it done now. And it's so funny to me because we all will do it, all the things, but there's also boundaries that have been created. And if I didn't create those boundaries, he could just make chaos left and right. And I love it. I love him for it. But if I don't tell him, honey, let me talk to you about that later. Let me finish this first. It would be chaos. Also with my doors, I have an open door policy. And so I have employees coming in and out of my door every probably 20 minutes all the time. I need hey, excuse me, knock on my door. If I didn't tell them, hey, can we talk about this maybe in an hour? Or hey, let's set a meeting for this. It would also be chaos in my life. So those are the things that I ask myself. If I'm overwhelmed, it's not their fault I'm overwhelmed. It's my fault I'm overwhelmed. Did I create those boundaries? If someone continually takes advantage of me, and this has happened recently, why do they still have access to me? It just happened to me recently. I just continue to do that. It's a fault of mine, but I am working on it. And that's okay to say that. But I have to ask that question, why do they still have access to me? And I have to eventually let it go and discontinue that access. That to me is accountability, these questions. That's truly accountability for me. It's not beating myself up. It's not beating yourself up, but it's literally, like I said, taking your power back. You are taking your power back when you admit your wrongdoings, when you admit your faults. Instead of sitting there and being bitter and being mad about something because it's everybody else, look within yourself and ask yourself these questions. Ask yourself, how could you have done better? What could you have learned from this? What are the things that you could have communicated about? All those questions, because that's when you're taking your power back. And I truly, truly believe that. Another thing I'm going to talk about is failure. We love that, don't we? We love talking about failure. Failure isn't the end of your story. I know a lot of people right now might be resonating with something that's happened in their life or something they've done and they feel stupid about. And they're just like, oh my God, I'm never leaving my house again. I failed. I feel like a failure. I think, and I'm going to give you my opinion on this, I think successful people sometimes give the impression that they just knew what they were doing. Like they were faking it. They were faking it till they make it. And they didn't know what they were doing. None of us do. We're all still trying to figure it out every single day. None of us, no one's perfect. No one has it all figured out. Nobody. We're all doing that. You make the decision. This is what I believe in. You make the decision, you learn, you adjust, and you move forward. That's how failure works for me. And I feel like that, as simple as that, that's how you can really take failure and work with it. You keep moving and you continue to learn from it. I've made mistakes. I've made plenty of mistakes. Believe me, I've made mistakes in my 50 years of life, okay? There are decisions I've looked back on and thought, oh my God, Rhea, what were you thinking? I look back at some things from my past. I even look back at social media posts have you done that? Have you seen there's these memes or reels like, oh my God, 10 years ago, what was I thinking? What was I thinking by doing that? But here's the thing. I wouldn't be the leader that I am today without some of my mistakes. We all know that. You learn from every single bad decision, every single mistake, every single thing you've done wrong. You learn from it. You have to learn from it. Failure gives you information all the time. When I don't do something, I am a little hard on myself, but I think about it. What did I get out of this? What is it I can learn from the information? Failure shows you what doesn't work. It shows you where your boundaries need to be. It does. It shows you who belongs in your life too. Like if something happened that wasn't supposed to happen or didn't happen the way you wanted it to, it shows you a lot of things. Failure is so honest and open. It shows you so much. And sometimes it shows you what you're capable of surviving. I mean, literally, those of you that might be feeling right now, I'm never leaving my house again. I can't deal with this. You're depressed. You're surviving. You're capable of it. You can get through this. You need to take it a step back and look at the big picture. What are you learning from this, and what will you never do again? So instead of asking, why did I fail? Ask, what did this teach me? And then you use it. You move on and you move forward. Okay, so another thing, and I love this part. You can be grateful and still want more. Brian and I talked about this. You can be grateful and still want more. This one is so important to me too, because I am so incredibly grateful for my life. I always use the grateful emoji, all the time. And it took me years to get here. Years. I'm telling you, a lot of work. I am so incredibly grateful. I'm thankful for God. I'm thankful for so many blessings in my life. I'm thankful for my husband, my kids. I have a really great life. I work so hard for this, and I can attest. Y'all hear me. I post it. I'm so grateful. But I'm grateful for my companies, our employees, what I have, my finances, my financial situation. I'm just grateful, and I can say that. I'm proud of it. The opportunities that we've been given, all of it. The life I've built with my husband, it's the most grateful I'm for. But gratitude doesn't mean you have to stop growing. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean you're selfish when you want more. You can love your life and you can still want more for yourself. I want more every single day. I do. I can honestly say that. And you can be grateful and you can also be ambitious. I'm probably the most ambitious person I know at 50. Still, I probably will be till the day I die. I'm going to want more. I want more because I know I'm capable of it. You can be successful and still have another level. You can go to another level. You don't have to just stay right where you are because you're good. I'm good. I'm grateful for what I have. I'm good. You can also want to go up another level. You can be a good wife, a good mom, a friend, and a businesswoman and still have dreams that belong entirely to you. I have my own dreams. I do. I can have my own dreams that belong to me, and I can still be a good person and a good mom and a good wife and want more and more and more. Wanting more doesn't mean what you have isn't enough. It doesn't mean you're selfish. It doesn't mean you're ungrateful. It doesn't mean, wow, look at her. She still wants that. She's got a life that she's always wanted. Sometimes it just simply means you're more capable of better and more things. It really does. It makes you stronger. It makes you more confident knowing these things. So also with that, you got to get out of your own way. You got to get it. Sometimes the biggest obstacle isn't other people. It isn't another person. It's us. It's you and it's me. It's the overthinking, right? It's the fear. It's people pleasing. I've talked about the people pleasing. It's imposter syndrome. That's so common. I don't deserve this. Are you sure? The imposter syndrome's huge. I dealt with that. Waiting until everything is always perfect, wanting everyone to approve, waiting for their permission. I've done all of that. I've done it all. And eventually you're going to realize, I'm realizing, you can spend your life waiting to feel ready, or you can just move. You could spend your life thinking, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I can do this. I need to research more before I make that decision. Make the call, start the business, post that video that's been in your drafts because you're too embarrassed to post it because you're too worried about what everybody else thinks. Apply for that opportunity. You see a better job opportunity out there, apply for it. Walk into that room. Don't wait by the door and wonder if you should go in or not. Walk into that room. Hire that person. They might not have all the credentials, but you feel it in your gut. They're good people. That's the energy you want. Hire that person. Fire that person. Fire the person. If you know you need to fire that person, go and do it. Set the boundary. Say no and say yes. I'll tell you what, my best decisions I've made is because I've done it on the fly. Literally, I said, you know what? F it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do that. Walk in that room, do that presentation. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to hire this person. I know that's an investment, but I'm going to do it. And I've had the best people in my company. Literally the worst decisions I made was because I overthought them. I did. I would write it down. I would think it. I would dwell on it. I would research all the things, all the good things, all the bad things. And then when I go and do it, it's the worst. I'm rambling. I'm talking too much. I'm nervous. You could see it. I wasn't confident about it. Whatever your next step is, you just should take it. Just take it. Confidence doesn't always come before action. It does not come before action. Sometimes action, it creates confidence. It does. So that's really important to remember. When you take that action, you're going to feel more confident. That's where it came from for me, is when I started making decisions and started just doing things that I felt I wanted to do, and I'm going to go do it. That's where my confidence really did truly come from. So what does success actually mean to you? We talked about this. This is another question I think we don't ask ourselves enough, and we never really truly sit there and think about it. What do you actually want? Personal, professional, what do you actually want? It's not going to be social media's definition. It's not your parents' definition. What do they think about it? It's not your friends' definition. It's not society's definition, what other people think. It's just going to be yours, because maybe your success is going to be like a $5 million company. Wouldn't that be awesome? I want that. I want plenty of that. Maybe it's working like 4 days a week, taking Monday, taking Friday off. Maybe that's success to you. Maybe it's being able to pick up your kids from school. I know a lot of moms that are working, a lot of my friends, they just want to do that. Maybe that's success to you. Maybe it's financial independence. It's traveling. I want to travel. I feel like that's success to me, when my husband and I can go and just travel, not worry about work. But also maybe it's making a community impact, or it's just finally having peace, like a morning on your deck with a cup of tea, like listening to nature. Maybe that's success to you. There just isn't one definition. Maybe it's all those things. For me, I feel like that's all those things, but there isn't just one definition. But you can build the life you want if you can't build the life you want if you've never actually decided what you want it to look like. You have to sit there and think about it. You can't build the life you want if you don't truly know what it is that you want. I always encourage people, I encourage my staff, write it down. It can change all the time. Write that down. What is it that you really want? What are your goals? So here's my challenge. And I have a challenge for this podcast, and I love it. And I want people to message me, comment, whatever, because I want to leave this challenge and I love it. Take out a piece of paper and answer these 5 questions. And this is a practice that I do a lot. Number 1, to ask yourself, what do I really want? Truly. And you have to be honest with your answers. Number 2, what am I currently tolerating that I know needs to change? What is that one thing you know that you're tolerating and you have to change it? The third question, what old thought about myself is holding me back? What is that old thought that's holding you back? Have you ever thought about that? I haven't until I did it, and I'm like, whoa, okay. And then question number 4, where do I need to take more accountability? Where? In your personal and professional life, where do you need to take more accountability? And the last question to ask yourself is, what's one action I can take this week instead of waiting? Just one action. Those 5 things to me are so simple, right? They sound great, but they're hard to answer. And you have to be honest with yourself. You don't give the answer don't give the answer you think you're supposed to give, or what you think people want you to say. You have to be honest with your answer. You have to be real about it, because this will never work for yourself if you're not honest. And a lot of times we like to think, well, what if so-and-so, what would my friends think, or what would they say? None of that. Give the real answer, because that's where your change starts, is when you're being really real with yourself. And I know that's hard to do, but these are really great questions to ask yourself. So what I want to end with here, really at this stage of my life, I just turned 50 a couple of weeks ago, big deal for me. But what I realized, and I'm realizing something, is I'm not interested in spending the next chapter trying to convince people who I am. I'm not interested in that anymore. I'm 50. Come on. Okay. I want to spend it becoming more of who I know I can be. I do. I truly do. I can change. I can evolve. I want to spend that time knowing who that is. I do. I want to be a better leader every day, right? Take something and try to be a little better. I want to be a better leader. I want to be a better wife, a better mother, a better grandmother, a better businesswoman, a better friend, a better sister, a better version of myself, truly, just a better version of myself. I'm not perfect, but I do really want to be intentional about it. And if there's something in your life right now that you desperately want to change, maybe the first question isn't like, when is this going to change? Maybe that's not the first question on that, but the next question should be, what am I willing to change? What are you willing to change? And I think those questions will really help you, because the business that you want to start, that's going to start with you. The leadership that you want is going to start with you. Your boundaries, your confidence, that all starts with you. Everything, this whole thing that I'm talking about always starts with yourself. Your next chapter that you're going to do is going to start with you. So start with yourself. Think about these things, because definitely change is going to come. It's going to come. So I'll see you next time, our next podcast. Thanks for listening and being here.